That's your thing now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I like saying pew, pew, pew.
Listening and about to start to cook dinner.
Oh, we already had dinner.
The $1 million question is it going to be edible?
Is it gonna be tacos?
Everybody loves the tacos. Okay, everybody. Evening, everybody.
Pew, pew.
You know what? I'm going to start calling him Coach. That's what I'm going to call Josh. Coach.
Why?
He has a basketball team. When he shows up to your house, you can go to the court.
And dominate. Hell, you almost have a full game. Just between the two.
He got one kid down there guarding the goal doing the lobster.
He was so stinking cute. Cracked me up.
Hidden within myself. Hello, Kitty, Suburban, Incense, Mud Pie Girl. Where was that?
Linda.
Jay. Linda.
Vina.
Grim Cats.
Cat.
John. Wallace. Vina.
Bacon, sausage, eggs, gravy, and biscuits. Oh my goodness. That sounds amazing.
So, I know we said we weren't going to do any more Friday live streams. But
Just kidding.
But Jesus said, yes, you are.
Where do I find your shop? What are you looking for, Peaceful Inspirations?
Because he made it rain today.
Yep.
And he made it rain hard.
Mary
S.
We haven't seen you in a while. Mousetraps. Yeah, they're on there. It's Big Bear Farm or bigbearhomestead.com/shop.
Or you can just email me and tell me how many you want.
Yeah, we can do that too. Mousetraps.
Yeah.
Yep, we can do that too.
And so, what was I talking about?
Ooh, dig into some homemade pizza. Yum.
What was I talking about? Oh.
The weather.
So,
Yeah, it rained again today.
We were going to bring you a pretty cool video today. But.
Yeah, God said no. Still, the mud's a little dry for my tasting.
Yep. God said no. You got to do this collaboration that Keto Country Homestead tagged you in, and I was like, but Lord, I still got to do the dance one that Green Dream tagged me in. And then Jesus was like, I really don't want to see you dance. And I was like, okay. And so
not happening, fat boy.
that part of Georgia cannot support that much weight moving around. And so we said,
me and a raccoon had a meeting last night over crackers.
And so we decided to do it live. But before we get into that, how are you guys liking the grow veg tutorials? That's what I would like to know.
Is it live or alive?
It really all depends on how you look at it.
Jason and we just had tornadoes. Can't handle an earthquake. See, so funny. I love me some Beck.
Your bacon's burning.
You put way too much lemon in there.
I didn't. You told me when to stop.
No, I tried to tell you after like 2 drops.
No, you didn't. It was like on the 4th drop was coming out, and it was like, hello.
No.
And then you're
hey,
like,
Lone Star, what's up?
Get to see Lone Star in about what, 2 weeks?
Something like that.
Yep.
What is the topic?
You don't really have one.
The tutorials are great. Think about ordering it. We'll use your link.
Thank you so much, Miss Linda.
So the topic tonight, we were tagged in a video collaboration.
Is there a reason why you're kicking me?
Origins.
Or are you trying to play footsie?
Trying to play footsie.
Nice.
And because we were
footsie.
trying to film it outside.
You're the best footsie player.
It decided to rain. Will you stop playing footsie with me?
You were playing footsie with me?
I'm not doing it anymore. Yeah. So, my bacon's going to be crispy and perfect. However, bear meat is greasy and it smells. I love her. I can't wait to just hug her neck. All right. I'm curious about how your fence is holding up to the bacon bits. Amazing. Even with the rain, y'all.
Even with the rain, and even with, they've all been zapped so many times that when Blaze went out to check it to make sure, because of all of the rain that we've been having over the last couple of days, to see if we needed to plug it in, because you can plug it in.
Which is another really cool point.
And he started looking around, and he put the tester on it, wasn't getting a reading. And so they went around and kicked all of the dirt the pigs were trying to be smart. They were trying to short it out.
Yeah, they're pushing the dirt up onto the fence.
And so they went around and pulled all the dirt off of the fence.
Right
boom,
back
boom,
up.
boom.
Yep. Yeah, we have a new security system, and it lets me know certain things. So, anyway. Not if you get a spring bear, then the meat is very nice.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
So, yeah. So, we decided we would come in here and do it. Talk about basically the concept is
how did you get started?
Yeah. Nope, you won't be able to. I'll see you from a mile away. I'm just saying.
You're the whole reason why we got it.
Now that's funny right there. Oh, speaking of which.
So we need to talk about the origins of our homestead name and how we got into homesteading. What you doing?
It's the end of the day.
Oh, yeah. So, how we got our homestead name? Well, my nuisance wildlife removal company we also called Big Bear Trapping Service. And
that's where the name came from. Well, go ahead.
Thank you. And so how that name came about was when I was in the Corps, I had a full-blooded Navajo roommate. And he was in my platoon. We used to call him Chief. And when we were in school, way back before we knew that we were going to be teamed up at Lejeune.
Hey, Two Family.
We went to see his family because we were in Texas and they lived in Oklahoma. And went out to the reservation, and his family gave me the name Big Bear. So that's my Navajo name. And so we just brought it.
Right. When we decided to start the trapping service, that's a fun story.
No, it's not.
So I was pregnant with Carol.
Oh, you're really going to tell this?
And I had pregnancy brain, and each month I was paying our bills online, and instead of paying Jason's truck, I was paying his credit card bill. And they called his parents trying to find the truck so they could come repo it. And his mom called, and we were like, well, crap, we got to come up with like $600 really quick. It's like 2 payments. And so Jason was like, well, we're going to have to come up with a solution. I could always go back to trapping. And I was like, okay, I can work with that. He's like, well, I'm going to go take a shower. I'll think about it and we'll come back. Well, he came back and I had business cards made, a contract made, was working on a website. I mean, it was a long shower, but
wasn't that long.
But so we came up with Big Bear because I knew that was kind of his nickname. Was Big Bear Trapping Service. And from there, it just kind of took over. Our homeschool, a lot of people don't know this, but when you put down your homeschool name, you have to put down a name for it. So that is Big Bear Academy. And then we have Big Bear Homestead. Yep. So we've always been, that's kind of where the progression came from. What?
Well, see, I'm not completely blind, so I'm able to read Lone Star's comment, and it's absolutely hilarious.
So, anyway.
And so that's how our name came into play.
Mm-hmm. So we posted some pictures. We figured more than just what our name. We kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a back history of where we've been. Some of you kind of joined us very early on with our videos, but we were doing it before we did the videos. So our first attempt at homesteading was on 0.5 acres, 0.54 acres, and it was a cute little house in a really, really, really bad neighborhood.
But man, did we have one heck of a garden.
We did. So the place that we
Of course, I tilled up a grenade.
yeah, the place we
Training
lived in,
grenade.
it was the weirdest plot. It had like the house, and it was on a square part of property. And it had, do you remember the cactus made out of stone in the front yard? So there was a cactus standing like this, made out of stone.
And it had power ran to it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so then it went to the back, and there was like a was it a pool or a waiting koi pond? I mean, I don't know what it was.
I think it was an attempt at a pool, but it was so small that it might have been an attempt at a hot tub or something.
But it was fenced in, and it had some steps going up to it, and then it was just this,
It made awesome compost.
Yeah, so we ended up putting compost in there. Then it goes back, and there was a little, like almost like a little pavilion with a picnic table, and it had a little open pit for us to have a fire. Mm-hmm. But then the rest of the property jutted to the right. The further back you went, it went to the right. And so you need to stop. I'm going to have to put something on that because that is very distracting. Look there. So then I'm going to punch you in your no-no square. Just saying.
Stop.
So then it goes and it turns back off to the right. And there was an old outhouse on the property. In the very back corner. Huh?
You don't even want to talk about the pecan trees.
There was like 2 of them, right?
It was 4.
Okay, along
we
the
cut
back.
down one.
Yeah.
We cut down like 2.
2. Yeah, there was only 2 left. So when we got there was no garden, no, there was just grass. So Jason got his tiller from his grandfather. It was a rear tine tiller. Yeah, so it was a beast.
It was a Troy built. When he passed away, I got it. Mm-hmm. And oh boy.
Yeah, it was.
My mama's got pictures of me holding on to the bar of the thing like this, walking behind it with my papaw.
And that was Blaze when
And I had my shaved head.
Mm-hmm, and that was him. I wish we still had this. We've got to have this picture somewhere.
I think they all got destroyed when that storm came through and hit the shed.
So
just like all my Marine Corps stuff.
Yeah. So in the back there was an outhouse, and
that was concreted over.
Yeah. So we turned it into.
You are so skipping around.
Yeah, I know I am. Okay, so we had the garden first, right?
Pull this here. Pull this here.
Okay. So the very first thing we did was.
The very first thing I think we did was the incubator. Because we did that in the wintertime.
Okay.
And we started growing.
Hey, Keto Country, what's up?
We started growing quail.
Uh-huh.
We did the quail in there, and Blaze made his chart.
Mm-hmm.
And we started growing quail out the wazoo.
Uh-huh.
And almost got arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got the chicken eggs from the guy at church, and we incubated those, hatched those out.
And then we had the garden. Then we did the garden that following year.
And then we had the garden,
which was massive. And they had left stuff just like anywhere. They had left some stuff on the property, and one of the things they had was chain link fence. So we ran chain link fence around the back side of it.
Skipping over some more stuff.
No, to do the garden.
We're still tilling the garden.
Oh, well then till your garden then.
That's a very important story.
Everybody's heard the story about you putting it back down over it and going, oh God, I'm going to die.
See, I love how you say that. That's the only thing you say. You don't want to talk about your great act of disobedience to your husband.
I lived. I'm okay.
It's because it was a training grenade. I'm tilling. Mm-hmm. And I hear, clink, 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 clink. And I look down, and I see a grenade. I pull the tiller back, push it down far into the ground. I look up and look at Robin, who's holding Carol, and Blaze is over there, and I say, run. Why I gotta run?
I didn't say that. I just said why.
Woman, run. You're not gonna talk to me that way. And she starts stomping off, and I'm like froze, and I'm like, okay, it's been long enough. If the pin would have came out, I would be Lieutenant Dan.
Thanks, David. Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have any legs.
Yeah.
And so I start easing up the tiller. You know how when you're looking for something, like whether or not you squash that bug, and so you're kind of like, whether or not you squash the spider, and you're like... That's what it was with the tiller. I was like...
Mm-hmm. The pucker factor. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, as soon as I lifted up the tiller, one of the tines hit it and it spun around and I could see the bottom was open. I was like, oh, it's a training grenade. Whew. So then I ran over to some trees and I peed.
More.
Gotta bring that up, don't you?
Yep. You peed yourself. Tell everybody you peed.
Came, I squirted. I went ski. Had a little ski. And and so we called the Richmond County Sheriff's Department.
They didn't want to have anything to do with it.
They didn't want to have anything to do with it. They sent a big fat deputy out. Mm-hmm. And he rolled up and his car was like parked like right over there. And I was like, here you go. He handed it back. I don't want it. And I said, I can't keep it. I don't know what you want me to do with it. And I went, well, it's against the law for me to keep it. Boom. And I tossed it in his car. I turned around, walked in the house, shut the door, and locked it. Click. Mm-hmm. And,
Robin, how big was the hole in them drawers? Yeah. Yeah, he was, I mean, considerably, it's one of those things where he just knew that it was not a good thing.
Like, great, I don't catch it overseas. I'm going to catch it here in my own backyard.
Exactly. And my son and my daughter are going to watch, And
they're going to watch me.
Yeah.
Because my wife wants to be disobedient.
I was far enough away. I'm just saying.
Okay. And what is the blast radius of a grenade?
I don't know, but I was far enough away.
No,
in my mind, yes,
you
I
weren't.
was. I was fine.
And so...
Anyway. So then you finished tilling up the garden.
And then we planted it.
And we had the chickens at that point.
No, we had them. They were hatching.
Right.
And so we planted.
They were still chicks.
We planted the garden. And I was in school.
Yep.
And the garden kept growing and kept growing and kept growing. Mm-hmm. And we were finding...
Well, one of the things was you had access to plants because you were going to school for horticulture. Mm-hmm. So they had a huge greenhouse, and part of y'all's stuff was planting and keeping things alive. So we were allowed to go in and buy them like super cheap, like 50 cents for a flat of
tomatoes.
Right.
Yeah, we were literally getting flats for 50 cents. Of squash, tomatoes, peppers.
Right. No, it wasn't a live grenade. It was a training grenade.
And so we planted it, and
stuff just kept growing
Kept
and growing
growing
and
and
growing because
growing
the
and
ground
growing
had
and
not been
used in
years.
decades.
Yeah.
And so we'd be going through the garden, and all of a sudden we'd come across a zucchini that we missed, and now it's as big as a softball
I mean, I'm
bat.
not exaggerating, y'all. They were probably as long as a ruler. Like 12 inch. I mean, they were easily...
Well, I took them into class, and Scott said, that is a softball bat. Not as... Because we had so much, I was taking them into class and giving it away.
April's my new best friend. Because she's right. That's what you should have said.
You wouldn't have ran.
Yes, I would. If you said bomb, you don't think I would have run?
No, you would have stood there and said, get out of there, get out of there, get out of there.
No, I would have. No, I'd have been like, see y'all.
Please.
Deuces.
Please. You would have argued with me. Come on, let's go.
No,
come on,
no.
let's
What
go.
I would have done is Jason run, because it's just like the tree. When y'all, I don't know if y'all watched, but when we put out the video where the tree is coming down, if you pay attention, it started going, and I was fussing. I was like, Jason, come on, get over here. So that's what I probably would have done. I probably would have been like, Jason.
I would have said, Robin, bomb. And then I would have been, what do you mean it's a bomb?
No, I wouldn't have.
Yes, you
But
would.
anyway.
You better get out of there if it's a bomb.
So
if it's a bomb, then why are you still there?
One of the first things that we learned with gardening is that when you have lemons, make lemonade. So we had zucchini that were so big. We tried cutting them up and freezing them.
That's
and
when we learned
blanching
about
them.
zucchini boats,
So
baby.
that's when we started making zucchini boats. And if you ask my children, that is like...
Well, one half of the zucchini, we had to take a samurai sword. And it was like Fruit Ninja.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, it was an act of Congress to cut
that
things
bad boy
out.
right down the center with the samurai, because that was the only blade that was long enough.
Yeah. So...
And then you dig it out.
Scoop all the stuff out, mix it all together. And of course, there was so much meat in them that when we would we'd take our meat and mix everything together. By the time we put everything in, we still had all this filling left over. So we started freezing the filling, and I mean, it was crazy. So,
but one half of the zucchini
fed the whole family.
The whole family. It was huge.
Yeah.
And so now that we've learned the ways of the zucchini plant. Now we're picking these little tiny. And to be honest with you, I get upset.
To let some grow.
I get upset because I'm like,
I can't make a zucchini boat like this.
what crap is this? What is this? What is this? I'm used to a zucchini boat.
Yeah, so...
like a zucchini yacht.
Green Gables is asking, what do we put in our zucchini boat? So what we do is we
a whole lot of loving.
We scoop everything out except for maybe like an eighth of an inch from the end. I mean, like and the reason why I did that is because they were so big that if you left too much meat on the outside of the shell, they wouldn't cook. It would have been really, really tough. So we scooped out almost all of the meat and the seeds, put that in a bowl. We took breadcrumbs, panko breadcrumbs, couple, just some seasoning. And then we did a mixture of ground beef and Italian sausage. And then tomatoes.
And you also put deer meat in it too.
Yeah, or deer meat. Yeah, we did deer meat.
It's so good with
And then we take cheese, like mozzarella or cheddar, but mostly mozzarella. And we mix it all together, and then we fill it back in there. And
bake the snot
and then bake it top. Put some more mozzarella on top, and let them just bake. And they were amazing.
Your mom would walk in the house, and you'd be like, ugh!
Yeah. So we learned how to make zucchini boats very early on because we were like, what are we gonna do with these things? Like, what do we do? Yeah. Like lasagna. Well. Because it didn't have any like
no, it's not like
it didn't have any like ricotta or anything like that, and it's mostly meat and tomatoes, diced tomatoes, and then a little bit of breadcrumbs to give it a little bit to kind of bind everything together. And sometimes we'd put Parmesan cheese in there to help with the breadcrumbs. mix it all together, and then,
Yeah. And then if you look at the thumbnail, the picture in the middle is the picture of a dog that's literally sitting right next to a chicken tractor.
To a video. We gotta have the zucchini first.
That he is protecting. That dog's name was Midnight.
Yes. So that was our first farm dog.
That was our very first dog as a family. We got him on when Carol was, 8 weeks old?
6 weeks.
6 weeks old, because he was 6 weeks old.
Right. They're exactly the same age.
Yes. And so, here comes a whole bunch of interruption.
That's all right.
And so the funny thing about Midnight is when Carol had this little tiny swing that we had to put her in so she could sleep.
I thought we checked on her.
I did. I just talked to her the other day and she said she was getting better.
Getting better.
Did she have a relapse?
Last time I talked to her, she was...
I saw her on Cab just the other day. It was like the day after I talked to her.
I don't know. Anyway.
But Carol had this little tiny swing. Mm-hmm. That you'd have to hand crank it. Mm-hmm. So that way she would rock.
It was one that...
She was in the ER for dehydration. And so when we would pull Carol out, Midnight would get in it. And lay in there and swing. And then he would go and lay underneath Carol's crib, and that's where he would sleep. Them two were inseparable.
She would sleep in the crib, he'd sleep under the crib.
Mm-hmm.
Did she go to the Deep South meetup? No, I don't think so. She can't drive.
And so that dog was the best farm dog ever.
Mm-hmm. Before we go any further, I want to address something real quick with dehydration. Y'all, a lot of people are getting sick. And the one thing she was just posting is that make sure you're pushing your fluids. If you get something like that, we live by this. It's called the PP diet. And you do Pringles and Powerade. And the salt from the Pringles helps you retain the fluid as you're drinking the Powerade. So keep that in mind. Store that in the back of your head. If you ever get in a situation like, where you're starting to get sick and there's a chance you could dehydrate, that's doctor recommended. We've had that recommended a couple of times.
I got a real bad stomach virus that they had to take me to the hospital via ambulance. Mm-hmm. And when we got, it was coming out both ends. Mm-hmm. And when I was down there, that's what the doctor basically wrote. Pringles and Powerade. Powerade
is supposedly better than Gatorade because Powerade has not only electrolytes but also vitamins or something like that in it. And Gatorade is just strictly electrolytes. So that's why they told us Powerade over Gatorade. And I guess the consistency of the Pringles, since they're so thin, they're a little bit easier to digest than a heavy cracker. Yeah. Because those will break up and,
Like for those of you that do keto, the Powerade Zero is keto friendly and it helps you get over the keto flu. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, just so that you know, that's something to kind of put in your toolbox if you ever have. We try to stock up on that during flu season so we know that, because once you start to feel sick, you don't want to have to go anywhere. So, and another thing we learned last year with the flu
is that when a man gets sick,
the world stops.
Oh.
Yes.
That's why God. That's why God made women have pain during pregnancy, so she can feel what it's like when a man gets sick.
No. So yeah. So basically, that Powerade and Pringles, but also paper plates,
plastic forks.
Yeah. So that you don't have to wash dishes or keep up with stuff, and you can burn it after you're done with it. Get rid of it.
Burn it.
So that was one thing that we learned, was that by having dishes constantly going, we were just perpetuating the cycle of everybody getting sick. So that was a thing that we learned that we try to share with everybody. So, yeah. Yeah. If a woman gets a flu, no one cares and asks when supper. I will be honest, last year when I got the flu, that did not happen. We all had it like within 5 or 6 hours of each other. So everybody was just like, I feel crappy.
MREs are a great thing.
Yeah. So that's what we literally, it was plastic forks and paper plates. And we literally just tossed everything out, put it in a box outside. And once everybody started to feel better, we took all of it out here and burned all of it. So anyway, we had the garden. We had the watermelon incident. So this was our very first garden, all in this first year. Bye, Suburban. Pass a loving pinch onto your husband from me. I just did that for Mama T. That was for you.
Okay.
So we had this garden this first year was absolutely
phenomenal.
That first year was amazing.
And our church was going to have a watermelon seed spitting contest.
Yeah.
And I said, let me bring the watermelons.
Because we got a ton of them.
I got a ton of them.
Yeah, we had like probably 20 watermelon growing.
Easy. And by the time from when we went to church, from the time that we came home, somebody jumped the fence and stole like half of the watermelons.
Yeah, there were probably 6 or 7 of them gone. And we're like...
And so we brought to church what we could, but I put a sign in my garden that said, to whoever stole my watermelons, be advised, I've poisoned one.
Good luck figuring out which
Good
one
luck
it is.
figuring out which one it is. I came back the next day and there was a sign attached to my sign, and all it said was, now there's 2. So we didn't eat any more watermelons the rest of that year. Mm-mm. But the best thing that we learned was
had smart criminals where they lived.
Was using the chain link fence for the tomatoes.
Yeah, so they had leftover chain link fence. We pulled it tight along the back side because we were we couldn't afford hardly anything. So buying tomato cages and stuff was just not happening. So we're like, well, we're just going to have to use what we got. So we picked up the chain link fence, put it up, and it was probably the best thing we'd ever done. So we grew tomatoes, we grew peppers. We had everything.
We had tomatoes going crazy, and that's when the tomato tossing game came into play. Mm-hmm. We would pull a tomato off, and it had a blemish or something in it. We were acting like it was grenades, throwing it into the chicken coop.
Yeah,
and it would hit.
Because the chicken coop was not far from the garden.
It would hit.
So we would throw it up over the fence because we went 4 foot, 4 foot. We doubled up our fence. Mm-hmm. And so we made it 8 feet tall. So we literally would just flash grenade.
Lob them over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything that was rotten or, anything
it would
like
hit
that.
the ground and then chickens would just come out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. Ascend upon it.
Now, okay, so now I'm remembering something.
Oh, God.
We had the chickens before the garden. Oh. Ask me how I know.
How do you know?
Because when we went up for your grandfather's funeral, that's when we lost the hen.
Right. That's the second garden.
We used the tiller.
That doesn't make any sense.
See, this is what happens when you have 14 or 15 years worth of history. Sometimes it gets a little, but
yeah, because we thought we lost that hen, and she was our best lady.
Yeah, so that's what happened.
But she was tucked over there in that corner.
When we went up the first time, we had to go up twice for Jason's grandfather. The first time we thought he was going to die, so we went up there, and everything was okay. Well, the second time he actually passed, we went up there for the funeral, and we had our neighbor watching the chickens and feeding the chickens for us. So we came back, and she was gone. Couldn't find her anywhere. And we thought for sure somebody had stolen her. And so, no, you know what? We had to have had them because we thought that somebody sold them based on the watermelon. So you're right, it was a second garden. We just must have done something different the first. I don't know. Anyway, so when we came...
Well, how many years were we there at that place?
Only a year. No, 2 years.
Were we there 2?
2 years, yeah. We were there 2 years. Because Ladessa was born... Yeah, because Ladessa was born there.
So we spent 2 Christmases in that house?
Uh-huh.
So I don't remember but one.
Well, the Christmas before Carol was born, we had at Glenwood. Then the following year, we had Christmas at... Yeah. So anyway, basically what happened is we had the chickens. They were... Yeah, because we had a garden already. Because we had already... Yeah, because the egg being... I don't know. Anyway, we had the hens. The hens were laying really well. We had one really good hen, and she disappeared. And we thought for sure somebody stole her. Mm-hmm. And a little while later...
Almost stepped on her.
She come out, and she had like 18...
Babies
following her around. Well, we tried keeping her in. We had some pallets. So we tried making a pallet to like protect her because she would pull her wings out and they would all get up underneath her. So we tried to make a little pallet shelter for her because she would not... We knew enough to know not to put her back in with the rooster because we knew that he would probably kill the chicks. So we tried to build this thing around her. Well, the pallet was big enough to keep her in, but the slats, the openings were still big enough that the chicks would go in and out. So we learned really quick that wasn't going to work. So then we had to put hardware, because we had plenty of hardware cloth at that point. So we put hardware cloth around the outside of it. Well, then after a while, we realized that they grow flight feathers. And one morning we came outside and there were chicks everywhere. We were chasing them. That was the very first time that we had to chase animals out in the street because they were out in our neighbor's yard.
Yeah, but it wasn't the last time.
Out. No. But so that was the very first time we had to chase animals in a neighborhood. That was fun. So we got them all back, got everything done. We got some rabbits at some point. You had a nuisance wildlife call for a pig. So we went over and got a pig on our 0.5 acres. We had a little potbelly pig on the back part of the property. We had bees because we were doing nuisance wildlife where we were pulling bees out of people's houses. So we pulled bees out and put them on the property. We had those. So we were doing it on 0.5 acres. We were doing it. We were having a good time. Then we had a girl come visit us to buy quail from us. And we had told her that our dream was to move out to where we could have cows and, pigs and everything. And she said, well, if you ever decide, you ever get the land and you want to do it, give me a call. Because I always have cows and pigs. Okay, cool. Well, fast forward a year later, we came into the Grovetown area and we had 2.5 acres. And she was like, well, start off with pigs. So we went...
We got T-bone first.
Did we? I thought we got the pigs first.
Yeah, because she called us.
Oh, in the middle of the night.
And she called us in the middle of the night and she said, hey, do you know anybody that can handle a beef cow? Somebody stole a bunch of our cows last night and I don't have the time to bottle feed her. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, we were going to call you in a week or so anyway because... We moved up to Grovetown. We got 2.5 acres.
She said, that's perfect.
That's perfect. She said, I'll bring him to you. And I think she charged us
$75.
$75.
$75. Basically, just to put gas in the truck and the trailer. Yeah. To be able to pull it from where she was and come back. Well, then you guys had to go get it.
We had to help her. Yeah, we had to help her round it up.
Yeah.
Because her brothers and boyfriends backed out on her.
Mm-hmm.
And
Just
so
pouring rain.
it was pouring rain.
Your first chance of chasing a calf around.
Chasing this calf around.
In the dark, in the rain.
It wasn't dark. It was getting dark.
Yeah, it was starting to get dark.
We were out there for about an hour and a half, and we were all running around. I finally got tired of chasing it, and it went back in this one corner, and it went to turn around and come back, and I was able to duck behind a bush, and as soon as he got really close, I stepped out like a linebacker.
Just took him down, picked
and him
him
and
up.
I went straight up, straight down,
Mm-hmm.
and I was sore for weeks.
And you were filthy. You were so... Because I wasn't there for that.
Mm-mm.
When you came back, it was dark.
Yeah.
And it was still raining, and Jason was covered in mud. I mean,
I got whiplash. Oh, I was hurting.
so bad. So we got the calf up, figured out we needed to get a bottle and the formula.
Mm-hmm. We bottle fed him, and the girls bottle fed him and
No.
brushed him.
Blaze bottle fed him.
Well, okay, let me rephrase. The kids bottle fed him and brushed him because Carol was down there with him.
Right, but Ladessa was like 6 months old.
Right.
Right.
And she would be brushing him and talking to him and all kinds of stuff.
Not T-bone.
And they'd get out there with him and they taught him how to play tag.
Oh, biggest mistake.
Oh.
Yeah, she would tap him on the nose, and then he'd come up and tap her with his nose. And we had our pasture was a 45-degree angle, and it was fenced down the driveway. So I used to, at the top of the driveway, I would come inside the fence and walk down the fence line. And one morning, he was now, like the picture that you see in the thumbnail, he was about 800 pounds. And he decided he wanted to play tag. And I had Ladessa with me, and I really quickly got on the other side of the fence. And I told Jason, I said, look, it's got to be getting close to time to get him processed because this is getting dangerous. And he was like, well, just stay on and that was fine. Just stay on the other side of the fence and don't get near him. It'll be okay. Like, okay, fine. Well, a week later, you were walking down in the pasture.
You come out of nowhere and said, tag, you're it.
Mm-hmm. Jason went, pew,
and so
pew, pew, pew.
we called around. We got a transport.
Paid like $100 for the guy to come get him.
And he took him to the processor. And because the Happy Valley they recommended this guy.
And it was crazy because we asked him, we were like, how much do you think this is going to cost?
Yeah.
Like, because we need to know, and it was in April, so we were getting our taxes back, so we knew we could afford to get it done, And so we called the transport guy, and you were like, look, and he's like, look, I can make it my first stop. I'll come get him. It won't be a problem. It'll be easy. Go ahead.
Are you sure?
No.
Okay.
Because I'm going to interrupt you again. You know it's coming. I mean, really? We're married forever. Pew, pew, skeet, skeet.
And so he's like, you'll be my first stop.
Perfect.
I was like, all right, cool. Well, he never showed up, never showed up, never showed up, never showed up, never showed up.
All of a sudden,
at the very end of the day, he comes rolling up the driveway.
And he is loaded.
Loaded.
He's got Angus bulls that are like 2,000 pounds.
Big, massive bulls.
Like metal ring in their nose big. Like massive.
What does a metal ring in the nose have to do with it?
Just, like picture. Like, you see the big, huge cow or the bull that's got the big nostril ring. Like, that's how big they were. Anyway, so here's the last. So we were the last stop.
We're the last stop. T-Bone was all the way up at the top corner.
But what we had done, we thought he was going to be the first stop, so we didn't feed him.
Right. And so he was like, so how are we going to get him? I said, look, he'll follow me to China with this orange bucket.
Because we hadn't fed him today.
And so I grabbed the hold of the bucket and I went, T-Bone! Whoop, whoop, whoop! And I hollered. And he come, now remember the hill's 45
degree
degrees.
angle. He come booking.
Boogity, boogity, boogity,
His
boogity,
butt
boogity, boogity,
was
boogity.
in front of his head. He was going so fast.
We opened up the gate. I started going towards the back of the trailer. It was going great, boy. And T-Bone come running up beside that trailer, and that big old black Angus bull went. He went.
He
Looked over and went. Turned around and went right back up to the top
of the hill. Yep.
And so then for the next hour and a half, we
learned how to push an animal, like, because we had never done that before.
Yep.
So we had to learn how to strategically place ourselves.
And gates and...
We had gates
and... we got him up on there.
Oh.
And here come Carol Ann in her little diaper.
Oh, she had her overalls on.
Yeah, but she's still wearing a diaper because her butt was like that wide. She come waddling her little diaper butt over there. And T-Bone stuck his head down like this. And she stuck her hand through there. And she said... Bye, T-Bone. I'll see you in the freezer. And turn around and started walking
up the driveway.
Up to the driveway. I looked at the guy. I said, I'll meet you out at the mailbox. Get out of here before she changes her mind and starts squalling. This dude's laughing. He's bent over holding his belly, laughing so hard. I had to grab him by his shoulders. And
come on, let's
go.
And she just walking up like it was no big deal. Going up to the house.
Her little sassy attitude that she still has today. And we got out there and he was like, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I thought for sure she was going to start bawling. And I said, well,
we'll find out.
We'll find out later. And he took off. Came back. Carol didn't say a word. So 2 weeks go by and Happy Valley calls. And they said, your
bull's ready.
Your bull's ready.
Well, actually, the funny part was we had never done this before. So they asked us, they called us, and they were like, what cuts of meat do you want?
What cuts do you want? Meat you want? I went,
the kind you get in the store. Steak. It's like, steak. And she's like, sir, you're going to have
even
more
before
than
that,
steak.
when we called them, remember this part? When we called them to get the pricings for them to butcher it. She's like, the lady was like, so is it a bull or is it a steer? And I was like, excuse me? And she's like, is he intact?
Have his boy parts?
Would you stop? Is he intact or not? And I was like, he's one whole cow. Front part's there, the back part. She's laughing. She's laughing. She's like, this is your first one, isn't it? And I'm like, yes, ma'am. She's like, does he still have his boy parts? And I went, oh, yes. Yeah, they're still there. And she was like, okay. Okay. And she's like, I said, but he's a virgin. Does that mean? I didn't know. I said, but does that mean anything? All I heard on the other end of the phone was, and I was like, is that gonna make the meat taste better? Do I need to let him go get some McLovin before? And she's like,
no.
Just tell me.
She's like, are there any cows with him? And we're like, no, he's by himself. She's like, oh, okay, yeah, he's fine. Okay.
She was like, oh.
Yeah, so then she calls.
She's
kind of hesitant because she already knows.
Yeah, she calls back and she's like, Mr. Rhea, I really hate to ask you this.
Do you know how you want him cut?
You know how you want him cut? I was like, who cut? She was like, your bull. What cuts of meat do you want? And I said,
the store kind.
And she was
steak.
And she was like, no. You can't say And I said, well, I don't know what in the world you're talking about.
She's like, do you eat burger?
And I was like,
I eat burger.
Yeah, I want some hamburger.
Well, how many pounds do you want per thing?
I was like, I don't know. And she's like, okay, do you
She's
want?
Like, no, you probably want like 2-pound packages.
She was like, do you want steak? And I was like, yes. Do you want roasts? Yes.
How about How about soup bones? Yes.
She started naming all these things. I didn't know what the crap she was talking about. I was just on the other end of the line going, yes.
You want the short ribs?
Yes. You want the tongue?
Yeah.
No.
Do you want, what did she say? There was one that and I was like, huh?
And then she was like, do you have a dog? And I was like, yes. She's like, do you want his... And I was like, for what? And she was like, that's a dog treat. I said, no.
No, it's not. Not here.
That hurt me watching that.
But see, at the time, we didn't know how good beef tongue was. So we didn't want the beef tongue. Yeah. She asked us if we...
Not that part, the other part.
Yeah, no, the other, yeah. So anyway, we went through. So then they call us, and they're like, "It's ready."
It's like you could see it. They had straws at the place. Okay, we got to call the rears. So who's gonna call?
Who's gonna call?
But just make sure you got it on speaker.
So they're like, "Okay, so your meat is done. It's ready for pickup."
And she goes, normally I don't ask this, but do you have coolers? And she made sure she pronounced the S. She said, do you have coolers? And I was like, I got a couple. Mm-hmm. She's like, okay, bring them. She says, you're going to need
some boxes.
A lot of boxes.
She said, how far do you live from our shop? We're like, not that far.
So we're about 30 minutes.
Yeah, not even.
Not
we're
even
like
30 minutes.
15 to 20 minutes.
And she's like, okay. She goes, just bring some boxes.
Just bring some boxes. We're like,
okay.
Boxes? She's like, yeah, bring some boxes. Okay, cool.
So we roll up in a Chrysler.
Minivan.
Town and country minivan. Loaded. Mama driving. I'm riding shotgun. 2 car seats and a Bubba in the back.
Yep.
Just riding up.
Had the backup sensors, so I back up. Beep,
and so we get out and we're like, we're here to pick up my bull. And they were like, you need to go inside. And so I walk in there, and they said, can we help you? I said, yeah, my name's Jason Rear. I'm here to pick up the bull. Okay, just back your truck up to the the loading dock right over there.
Like,
and I was like,
I'm in a minivan.
No, I didn't say anything. I just said, okay. And so I had Robin back the minivan up, and I'm watching, and one of the dudes was outside. He goes darting in there. And the next thing I know,
the whole staff's outside.
The staff's coming through the double doors. And then Robin gets out, she hits a little button, and automatically the And these people...
And I had stowaway seating, so you could fold down a seat, and we had plenty of room.
These people started laughing at us. Laughing at us. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what are these people laughing at?
And we had no idea. So we go inside. We've got Carol with us, and I've got Ladessa on my hip.
Carol's on my 2 fingers. And so we walk around.
And they had a meat case where you could see different cuts of meat.
Right. And so we walk in, and Carol goes, Daddy, is that my T-bone? Everybody stopped laughing.
The air
got sucked out of the room. Like, you could have heard a mouse peeing on a cotton ball. Yeah. That's how it went from people laughing
at us,
just hysterically at us, tears rolling down their face, to instant fear. Whoom! And they all looked. And you could see they were trying to draw straws again real quick.
And the lady leaned over to me and she goes, does she know that T-Bone's not coming back the way that he left? And I'm like, ask her.
And
ask her.
So she leaned over and she said, baby, where do you think T-Bone's going?
Yeah. So where are you going to put T-Bone?
Where do you think you're going to be putting T-Bone? She said, in my freezer. And then in my belly. And she poked, you know how toddlers got that little pot belly to them? Like a old redneck man that's got the beer belly perfectly round, like she swallowed one of those watermelons. That was Carol. And she poked that bad boy out and she started rubbing it like this. Woo! And everybody started dying laughing. Mm-hmm. Well, everybody was laughing so loud and so hard, the old man came out.
Yeah.
The old man come out, the owner. He come out and said, what are y'all carrying on about? People's faces are getting puffy because they've been laughing so hard. Uh-huh. And
so then they're like,
the one lady, she was like, nothing, Dad. Just Mr. Rear's here to pick up his cow. And he goes, that little Angus bull. And she was like, yes, sir.
Now, hold on before you go any further. I don't know how many of y'all know this. When you go to a processor that is USDA certified, you have to bring the animal to them alive. The animal has to be tested before they can slaughter the animal and process the animal. Mm-hmm. So we were always a little nervous since it was our first one. We didn't know if something was wrong. We didn't vaccinate. We didn't do medicated feed. None of that. So we thought as soon as this guy come out and started saying, "You talk about that bull," we were like, "Oh crap! What did we do wrong?"
And I was like,
"Hey, Daryl."
I was like, "Oh, great! I'm fixing to get some type of fine." Mm-hmm. You know, all the worst case scenarios were going through my head. And he reached his hand out across from me and said, "I want to shake your hand, son." And I was like, "Okay, you're like a whole lot older than me, so I'm not gonna kill you for calling me son." But boom. And I shook his hand and he said, "That is the healthiest animal that has come through this place in 50 years. It was like instant. My hand was out like this and he was pushing the button to inflate my chest because it went. And I was like, yeah.
I am the man.
They were like, "What did you feed him?" I said, "He didn't eat anything but grass
and a little bit of sweet
feed.
And
hay, and he fought with the goats to get to the sweet feed." Yep. And that was it.
That was it. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And
he said, "Well, keep doing it. Keep raising cows. That's what you need to do."
He goes, "And if you want to go full time with it and start getting into cattle and start selling them, you let me know. I will hook you up." Mm-hmm. And I turned to Robin and I just said, "We need more land." Mm-hmm. Yep. And so they rolled out this.
No, they said, "Okay, well, let's go get your meat."
Let's go get your meat.
They open up the cooler.
And they come out with, you know how like when you're in the grocery stores and they're restocking the meat, they got that roly dolly thing and it's got the
shelves. Almost looks like a hotel.
The hotel dolly thing.
Right.
They come out with it. Do. Then they come out with another one. Do. And I'm like, "That's all mine?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I said, "What were y'all laughing about?"
We got one more.
Because that'll fit in that van with like no problem. They're like, "You got 2 more, cuz." They brought out 4 of them things. And they were stacked from bottom to the tippy top. We drove home. We had to drive home at like 35 miles an hour.
Back into the truck.
Because the back end of that minivan was
because there was like 400 pounds of meat. Yeah. Like he was over 800 pounds. Yeah. He was almost 900.
And because he was so healthy, they didn't have to waste anything.
And we took the bones. So we had all these bones. I mean, it was over 400 pounds of meat. And it cost us like $300 and something to have it done. But that minivan looked like a lowrider out of a... Yeah, because we had like 400 pounds just in the back, you know, that was riding low.
We had to take the meat out of the van to get up the driveway. Because the driveway was like this, and it was all dirt, clod. We had to punch it when it didn't have anything in it. You had to punch the van. You had to stand. You had to back all the way up,
up the
drop
driveway.
it down, and stand on it, so that way you could get all the way up to the top. Mm-hmm. And so we were literally like just lobbing stuff up there.
Mm-hmm. We took out. You know, we had all these boxes. We took all the boxes out. Had one box, went up the driveway with it, came back down the driveway, took one more. I mean, we took like 4 or 5 different trips up the driveway to get it all up there. One of the questions was, did we have enough freezer space? Yes. We had bought, we bought a big, huge chest freezer, and we had another chest freezer, and we filled them both.
No, we had 2 big chest freezers. We didn't get that little
That's
black
what I was
one.
saying. We had 2 chest freezers.
Yeah, we had 2 of the full-size chest freezers. Yeah. He filled both of them up. And the
freezer in the refrigerator.
In the refrigerator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we ate beef. And that's the thing. Like, I'm surprised we didn't end up with scurvy or something because...
Well, we ate him for what, 3 years, 4 years?
No, it was a little over 2. It was only about 2 years.
I think it was close to 3.
Because what happened is we learned very quickly. And that's one thing, I mean, I'm sure most of y'all, if you've raised one before... and it's your first one, you eat so much of it that then you're like, crap, we got to slow down because like the steaks start to, because what happened, and this is what happened with us, is we had friends who knew that we had steak and a lot of it, and we had a lot of burger. And so we were getting invited to a lot of cookouts where we were bringing the meat. Yeah. So we learned real quick that, well, not as quick as we probably should have, but Yeah, because part of it's your pride. You're like, yes, I provided the steak and it was amazing. And the steaks were so big, y'all, that we needed a separate plate for the sides.
Yeah.
The steak took up an entire plate. T-bone steaks.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we started. We kind of, when we got to that 2.5 acres, you know, we had the garden that did really well. We got the zucchini boats. Mm-hmm. And then we had the chickens and we had that first egg. And then we had the chicks and we were all excited. And then we graduated up to that cow. And then... and then we're like, yes, we are awesome. We raised an awesome bull. We are we can do this.
We left out a couple of good stories, though, too.
Okay.
When we were at that 0.5 acres in the ghetto...
Mm-hmm.
That's when you made pepper spray.
Mm.
And
that was when the Great Pepper Challenge started.
Yeah.
You and Blaze would grow peppers and see who would flinch first. Mm-hmm.
But you started to try to saute up those cayenne peppers.
No, it was a jalapeno.
Okay. It was jalapeno. No.
Whatever. Habanero.
Habanero.
Yeah, it was a habanero. That's right.
And she filled the whole house.
Well, we had the AC on because it was in the middle of the summer. And so the intake pulled the steam in and then distributed it throughout the house. And where were you at? You were in the living room?
Mm-hmm. We lived, look, when I tell you we lived in the ghetto, we lived in the ghetto. People were walking down our street with stolen TVs.
Like, no lie. Like, we're not even exaggerating. We called the cops several times because there would be people walking down the street carrying stuff that they stole out of people's houses.
The moment that hit me, we started opening windows, opening doors. I grabbed all of my firearms and I put them in the car. Mm-hmm. And I said, let's go.
We left every door, every window open for hours. We went, had dinner at Golden Corral, hung out at the mall. It was like 2 or 3 hours.
Yep.
And it was so pungent and strong that nobody
came in. My TVs were still there. All the jewelry was still there. The money and everything was still there. Nobody came in at all. Yeah. A matter of fact, my neighbor come out and he said, nobody walking down the street.
Yeah. It was.
Who did you spray with pepper spray? And we told him, and he started laughing. Mm-hmm. And then shortly after that, we harvested some more, and then we realized that was one of our indicators that Carol had a sensory issue because she was down there double fisting them, chewing on them.
Didn't burn her.
Didn't bother her whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, but then we got the pigs.
Yeah. So we thought, well, we've done a cow. Nothing can be as hard as a cow. I mean, cows are like 1,000 pounds. A pig can't be that bad, you know? So we called up the girl that got us the cow and said, hey, can you find us some pigs? And she said, absolutely, I can get you some pigs.
I told her I wanted a boy and 2 girls.
Yeah, we wanted a breeding trio. Mm-hmm.
And so she brought them.
That was when I... No, it's not. Never mind. Go ahead.
What?
My misfortunate Google search.
No.
That was when we decided to do the other ones.
Yeah. And she brought them, and we started raising them. And they grew up, and boy, oh boy, that's when we realized I paid for wild pigs. They literally went out on their place somewhere and caught a bunch of wild pigs and brought us 2 sows and a boar.
Yep. Because we chased them around for the next year and a half.
They gave us a bunch of piglets.
Well, that's what I was gonna say is that the very first day, because again, with the cow, we never dealt with birth at all. So when the pigs came along, we knew we had a breeding trio, but apparently nobody's brain ever thought breeding trio was going to be, we were going to have piglets. So one day I went down there and she was back in the corner and I screamed the top of my lungs.
No, you screamed like somebody done cut your leg off or somebody shot you. And so I come running around the corner. And I'm like, what's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter? We got piglets. And I said, woman, you ever scream like that again over some piglets, me and you are going to have some serious issues. And so she raised up all of those piglets. And then we went to eating them. But that's when we started to realize that wild pigs have absolutely no problem climbing pallets, no problem pushing through fencing. That's when we learned about pallet fencing and reinforcing it and making it to where they couldn't pick it up.
We also learned that it's very good to condition your animals to feed time. Because there were several times that they got loose, and because we bucket trained them and called them, anytime we called them when they were loose, they would come running because they thought it was time to eat. So we learned a lot from those pigs, but we also learned that they were not the pigs we wanted to raise. So we weren't really in the market yet. Well, no, I take that back.
Okay, you're not skipping over this part of the story. You're not doing
No,
that.
I was going to.
No, stop.
Are you talking about selling them?
Yeah.
No, I was going to go before that. I was going to say we weren't really in the market yet to really process them, but that's not true because we did process at least one of them because we have pictures and did video of processing one of the pigs. We processed one. No. We processed the boy that was hanging around.
No, I sent him to Doug's.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right, because that's when the old man picked him up with one hand.
No, that was the one that I got the nuisance wildlife call for.
Oh, okay. God,
that's when
pigs. We were eating pig like
That's
crazy.
when we learned that he had a stroke.
Yeah.
The old man had a stroke.
Right. So, anyway, we had processed some, but we were just at the point where we were done with raising these pigs. We had started doing research and realized that these pigs were just not, if you looked at the snouts and the way that they were, it just didn't make sense. We were raising the wrong kind. And that's when we started figuring out that we were raising wild pigs, and we just...
Oh, we knew long before that they were wild.
But what I'm saying is it made more sense why it wasn't working when we started putting all of that together. So anyway, go ahead. Tell your story.
So we put them for sale in a magazine down in Augusta called the I Wanna.
It's kind of like Craigslist, back before Craigslist.
Yeah. And...
But local. Don't look at me like that. I just said but local. Go ahead and tell your story. I didn't interrupt you.
And so this group this family came over. Well, we had the first guy come over, and he was a Cuban, and he lassoed them. It was the coolest thing ever. Whoosh. He lassoed. He bought what, 1 or 2 pigs?
Well, I think it was just one. But what was funny is he came in with his truck, and we were like, "Do you have a crate or anything like that?" Hey, Tim, and we were like, "Where are you gonna put the pig?" He's like, "Oh no, I'm just gonna tie him up." And we were like, "Okay, how are we gonna catch?" And we were gonna catch. We had like a net or whatever. Like, "Oh, we'll help you catch him." And he was like, no, I got it. I was like, what?
Yep.
So he climbed inside the pen.
Started doing it.
And we were like, who is this guy?
And I was like, this is fixing to be cool.
And sure enough, he threw it once and snagged one leg. He pulled it back because he wanted more than one. So he lassoed it again. He got both back legs at the same time. He pulled them legs and he swung him over and he picked him up, put him on the back of the truck, and he handed us the money. He was gone. And we were like, what just happened?
Like, quick. Like, it wasn't even funny.
We were like, where have you been? Like, we needed you like 6 months ago.
I was like, wow.
It was impressive. He's like, I've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
We're like, okay. So he was gone. Then the next group called us.
The next group came. And they showed up with a big, like, landscaping
trailer,
type
but
trailer.
It was built, like, covered in.
Like the ones that they carry the pine straw in. That's got, basically chain link fence all the way around.
Yeah.
I said, okay, this is going to be easy. Well, they came up to the pig pen and they started looking around, and then the old man talked, and he said, blah, 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 blah. And I went,
what language is that?
What?
And we had just dealt with a Cuban, so we were like, well, maybe we didn't understand what language that was.
Come again. And he was like, and his youngest grandson or son came over and he said, he wants to know how much you want for all of them.
I'm like, you got that out of that?
And I was like, okay. And so I gave him the thing and he was, and I'm like, okay. And I'm looking at Robin, and you know how she is. She's like, and so they said, well, they're going to take all of them. And I said, okay.
Give me the money.
Money first, because I don't understand the language he's speaking, and y'all are kind of like shady. Of course, I didn't come out and call him shady to the face, but that's what I was thinking. So they paid me up front. Boop, we set the
pallet. It was like $300, I think they paid us.
Set the pallets up, had a straight runway. Now, these were not small dudes, okay?
No, they were big, like 6 foot, 200 pounds.
They were big, beefy dudes.
And the way we had it set up, it wasn't going to be hard. We had backed their trailer up right to the door.
Yep. We swung the door open and stuck 2 pallets on either side. Big dude number 1, you stand right there, hold that pallet. Big dude number 2, you stand right here, hold this pallet. I jumped into the pig pen, started walking them. Well, big dude number 1 was a little girly man, because that pig hit that pallet and he went, ah!
And he did. He literally did. He's like, ah! He let go of the pallet.
And off
went the pig. And
pigs,
then went
all
the
of them.
rest. Now, granted, we had everything fenced in. We had our pasture fenced in. So we knew we just had to contain them within the fence. So we closed the back fence because we had it separated two pastures. So they were in the one, so we closed it and had it so it was just the back. So we're like, okay, we can manage this.
And so we're chasing them. And these 2 burly dudes are like scared of the pigs.
Oh.
And so Mr. Mumbles called them out, and I kind of looked at the translating dude, and he's like, oh, he's just fussing at them because your wife is catching more pigs than they are.
And I was going by and just snatching them up by their legs, picking them up, throwing them in the trailer, and going to the next one, picking them up.
It was so hot to watch her do that.
I was done with chasing pigs, because you don't understand. There were times, like, one time we went to go to Six Flags. We were going to have to leave early in the morning, and we spent half the night trying to chase them damn pigs to get them all put up so that we could go to Six Flags the next day. And we ended up, that was another thing we learned, is sometimes you just got to let them be, because we trusted our fence line. Mm-hmm. We opened up the gate next morning. We came down there. They were all asleep inside the pen. We're like, close the door. So keep in mind, we were done. Like, we did not want to chase pigs anymore. So the prospect of getting these pigs out of our property was like, Jason and I were like, we'll do it if we have to.
Yep.
And so we started chasing pigs.
And
picking them up.
I'll never forget my beautiful bride, right? Now, you weighed back then, what, like 98 pounds?
I was like 105.
If you were 100 pounds, I was Chinese.
I wasn't very big at all.
She was a tiny thing. And she pinned this one piglet up against some pallets, reached down, bear hugged it, picked it up like this, and was walking like this, and the pig's feet was just a kicking like this, and it was just a squalling.
Squealing. Oh, it was horrible.
And she, boom, pushed it in there and slammed the gate. She was covered from mud to mud, and she turned around and looked at me, and I said, I love you!
And then boys, and the thing was, is Mr. Mumbles was like, just riding them hard, because he was like, I cannot believe that this woman is doing this, and you're not. So then we're down to one piglet.
No. You're trying to steal my thunder now.
Oh, yeah, you picked up one.
And we were everybody was getting frustrated. And this piglet came by me, and I just went, woo! and picked him up and just tossed him in there. Robin went, Daddy's done playing. Mm-hmm. And about that time, one of the very last piglet ducked, shoo, and went up underneath our rabbit hutch.
Yeah, we had a rabbit hutch.
We had our rabbit hutch
up on stilts.
Up on stilts because underneath it we had a garden hose wrapped for a swamp cooler to try to help keep the rabbits cool in the summertime. Didn't work. Well, the only person that could fit under there was Blaze. And I said, "Let's go, boy."
Earn your dinner.
Blaze got a little salty, but he crawled underneath there. And he's crawling, and he grabs a hold of that pig, and the pig starts trying to back out. Well, the butt end of the pig came. Well, I reached down, and I grabbed a hold of it, and I said, "I got it." And I went to start pulling, and all I heard Blaze was when Blaze went,
"Son of a..."
Blaze went, and cussed, and then the pig went limp. And I went,
We just bought a pig.
We just bought a pig back because Blaze just killed it. And so I pulled it out.
It was like knocked.
And it was kind of like just out.
You just got knocked out.
It was out.
Yep.
And Blaze comes storming out from the other end and grabbed a hold of that pig's ear, walked, "Come on, Daddy," and walked over there, and we tossed it in there, and pig hit, and it bounced back up, was walking around. And I looked at him and I said, what did you do? He said, "He bit me, so I punched him." Knocked the pig slap out.
And he couldn't have been, but...
He was 9.
9, yeah. He was super small, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was super small at the time. So, yeah, so that was when we learned that... And so we took a break for a little while from pigs. We were like, we're done with pigs.
Mm-hmm.
We're not done with pigs.
And so then we're laying in bed. This was 4 months later.
Yeah, it was a good bit later. Basically what happened is we started running out of pork, and we're like, okay, this is not sustainable. We have to, get another one.
We've got to figure out what we're gonna do. I like bacon. You like bacon.
And
I like ham. You like a ham.
The sausage. I mean, we were eating sausage for breakfast, and we had fresh eggs. I mean, it was.
And we just got the homesteading Bible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so we were every night we were in there, we were reading that book, digesting it, and chewing on it, and loving on it.
Yeah.
And so I looked at Robin, and I just got done reading the thing about pigs. I said, "Baby, we need to do pigs.
We need to do pigs again.
But we need to do it right.
But we need to do it right, and we need to get the right breed." And
right. And I said, so we need to find some wiener pigs. And Miss Technology over here, she says, "Well, we got to make sure we know how to raise the wieners correctly." And so what does she type into a Google search?
How to raise wieners.
She didn't get anything about a pig.
And I even spelled it right. I spelled WENERS. But oh my God.
She started doing just like she's doing right now and turning just as red. And I'm like, and she's going, "No, and slapping the computer and doing this and trying to get the laptop down.
Do you know those times when your brain just works way fast, like your fingers work faster than your brain, and you're like, "Oh my God, no, what did I just type?"
And I'm like, "What is wrong? What is wrong?" She laughed like this hysterically for 45 minutes, to the point where I got worried and I called her aunt and I said, "She won't stop laughing."
Why?
Why?
Because I typed in raising wieners.
45 minutes.
I'm a smart woman. But in that moment right then and there, no, we were back in the way our house was, we were back in our own bedroom, and so nobody, it was just us.
The kids were all asleep.
Oh my God. What did I learn? I learned never to type in how to raise wieners.
She learned about parental controls.
Yes, I really did. It was definitely a blonde moment. So anyway, we did do the research. We figured out what we needed to do. We started looking around again in the Iwana. Mm-hmm. And we found...
Our Yorkshires.
Ironically...
Not 15 minutes from where we are right now.
They're maybe 15 minutes from where we live now. So, I'm wondering how many of us are going to Google how to raise wieners.
April is your spirit animal.
I am. I'm on that list. Oh, so anyway, we drove up here.
No, wait a minute. You guys don't understand. You couldn't even say wieners around her for like 2 years. Or this would happen. And it's because she embarrassed herself. And this is her embarrassed laughter. Because when Robin gets embarrassed or she gets into an uncomfortable situation, she makes jokes or starts laughing uncontrollably. So it was like, there was, for the longest time, when the kids started figuring that kind of stuff out, if she was fussing at them, they would say poop or wieners. Boom. They weren't getting in any trouble.
Oh, my head's starting to hurt.
And then I made the mistake one night at dinner. The ketchup made the noise. And I said, well, when the ketchup farts, I guess you got to look out for the mustard. And so you couldn't say mustard around Robin for like a year.
Okay, so
when the ketchup farts,
mustard.
Watch out for the mustard.
So I think once we got out of the first round of pigs and went to the second round, that's when we kind of really stepped it up. Like that was kind of where we were at one level. And then it went up a notch. And I think what happened is when our pigs got big enough to have babies.
Oh, you're going to skip over this other part.
What part?
We went to this guy's place.
The names, yeah.
We went to this guy's place. Again, in the minivan.
Mm-hmm. In the minivan. Yep, in the minivan.
And he was then like how we are now.
Now, yeah.
Okay, he's got some cows. He had turkeys. He had pigs, chickens, quail, ducks, quail.
Yeah.
And he was telling us how you can make a lot of money selling duck eggs, but you got to do it very quietly because the Chinese or some Oriental folks would buy it because it's a delicacy, and they want them when the egg is at day 19 and 20.
It's gross.
Now, they'll pay almost $20 an egg for it, but...
Ugh, I think I'm going to throw up in my mouth.
They will literally eat the baby duckling, feathers and all.
Yeah, it's gross. Anyway.
And so, when we loaded up the minivan, it had 3 pigs, 2 turkeys, some guineas,
and some chickens.
Mm-hmm.
We were broke. But it was tax season again, so, whatever.
So, we went to McDonald's to get some teas. I told the lady at the window that I will pay double if she can guess what's in the back of this minivan. Of course, she didn't. And so...
Yeah, on 2.5 acres.
2.5 acres.
Yep.
And so... we start coming home. And it was Carol's turn to name the animals. And I said, okay, baby, your turn to name the pigs. And now, I thought, we went through pork chops, sausage, bacon, ham hock.
T-bone. We had all these food names.
Right. So I figured, okay, she's going to...
Petunia or something. Yeah.
Some type of names like that. We were in Charlotte's Web, so I kind of figured Wilbur was going to come. Mm-hmm. And she's like, okay. Obama, Pelosi, and Clinton. And I went, oh no. I just, tea shot out of my nose. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, so Obama was the boy. Clinton was the girl. Like
And
Hillary Clinton and Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi. So what happened is on the way up there, it was election season. And I was venting to my aunt on the way up about how things were going with the election. So she kept hearing the names Clinton, Pelosi, and Obama. So those were the names she gave the pigs.
So I said, okay, let's run with it. That came back to haunt us later on. Mm-hmm. But let's see. We got them home, got everybody done, and the turkeys grew up.
A little bit.
And we were going to move them into a different, because we had them in a stall, and we were going to move them. And Carol was so eager to help. Like,
she loves helping us. Yes. She was helping with chickens and all that stuff. And
you guys saw the pictures from her 13th birthday.
She's holding the chicken.
Where she's holding the
really
chickens
tight.
Really tight. Well, she wanted to help catch the turkeys. Mm-hmm. And she went in there and she caught them. Mm-hmm. Right by the neck. Killed them both.
And she was like, look, Daddy!
I got them! Oh, yeah, you do.
Mm-hmm. And they weren't big enough yet to eat them, so it was kind of a waste. But, so then, fast forward just a little bit further.
Well, I think they've heard all of these now. I think we've caught them up.
No. Mm-mm. What I was going to say is when we got to the point where we learned we really had to step it up was when we had a series of a couple of things happen. Both of our pigs got pregnant. And one of them had a prolapsed female area. And we didn't know enough. We knew enough to know that we didn't need to get into the pen with the mama when she had her babies. So we would just put our head over the side of the pen just to check and make sure she was okay.
Well, we did try to go in, but in the very beginning, she would still get up.
Well, that was the first one. But then with the second one, yeah, she did. She was kind of grumbly. And so we would go in and kind of look. Well, on day like 3 or...
It was 4 or 5 because we were going in there the first couple of days and she would jump up and get protective and we would back out. But come day 4 or 5, at this point in time, I got elected president of the Hobby Farmers Association down there in Augusta. And so I had a meeting I had to go to. Mm-hmm. Well, I get called in the meeting that she ain't moving.
Yeah, we're like, Jason, she's not moving. She's breathing funny.
And she had maggots coming out of her girl parts, and that's when we learned that it was prolapse. Because every time we tried to go in there before, she'd kind of like charge us, so we'd back away.
Right.
And so we started making phone calls and got a vet tech out there, and we cleaned it out really good and she stuck the hose up there, got it all cleaned out the best she could, pumped her full of a bunch of antibiotics, and we just had to try to get her up and get her moving.
And we were up with her, y'all, and this was our very first time. We were up with her all night long.
We watched the sun come up, and about the time the sun was coming up, she died.
And that was when we were like, okay, crap just got real.
We've got to put stuff in play to make sure that this doesn't ever happen again. Mm-hmm. So the picture that you guys see every time we go to start a live stream with that pig sticking his head out that little hole, that's because we cut that hole in that stall if anything ever when Clinton had any more piglets, we could slide that open and that could be another access point that we could see in there to try to make sure
see what was going on.
Everything was okay. And on the other side of we basically had the front part of this because it was an old horse barn. So we had the first part where the stall only came halfway up. Mm-hmm. Then we had that one where their head came in the back, and then we had another one on this side.
Because it was a horse stall, so you could go in through the other stall and look up over the side.
And then we had the one on the outside between the barn and the rabbit hutch. So we pretty much
had all four.
Had it all
walls
covered, so that way that would never happen to us again.
Yeah. So then there was that, and then, and then we started hauling. That's when we learned that pig muck is the best fertilizer ever. Started emptying out pig muck stalls and using it in the garden. Had an awesome garden. Then we were like, oh, well, let's raise meat birds. That's the other picture you see. We built these tractors. We had a siding warehouse close to where we lived, and the siding came in these big, huge crates. And so we just went and picked up the crates and then covered them up in chicken wire.
We basically, that's when we just got done reading You Can Farm, Pastured Poultry, Salad Bar Beef. That's when we were diving into Joel Salatin.
Right.
And so we basically built that first chicken tractor off of his design from Pastured Poultry.
From what we've got, with what we had.
Yeah.
Modified a little bit.
And we started running them. And boy, oh boy.
Well, and we learned a lot of things. Like, we learned that rain, that temperature and water are two things, you got to really pay attention to. We're out in the middle of the night getting birds out of the rain. I mean, because we had 100, and so we were pulling them in our shirts.
We never did do anything small, did we?
Never. And so we had to put them all inside, and then there was, and then there was the year that we had so much rain, we had to dig out a trench at 2 o'clock in the morning. The whole family, all hands on deck. Even Ladessa was out there with a little trowel trying to dig a ditch. So that was kind of where we went from, it's time to either... This is either a hobby or a lifestyle. And that's when we started really, we decided to go with the meat birds, and then we did rabbits for a while.
And that's when we got our very first chef. I say that like we went out and bought a chef, but I mean, basically that's what it kind of was. We, through that Hobby Farmers Association,
we met a
guy who knew a chef, and that chef wanted eggs and stuff, and how we were doing it,
and pig.
And so he started. Look, I'll be honest with you, the money was great. He found out we had Muscovies and paid us $7 a pound live weight for the Muscovies. He was paying us $5 a pound for the meat birds, the meat chicken birds, and he was paying us
$4 a pound for the birds and $5 a pound for the pork.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he was paying us $4
a dozen
for eggs, and we couldn't keep up.
Nope.
And he bought us out. It was a year and a half that we were growing meat birds before we tasted the first one.
Yeah, and that was the crazy thing. Even with the Muscovies, it was years before we ate Muscovy. We didn't eat a Muscovy
until we moved up here.
Yeah, we had been raising them and selling them to him for 2 years. Never tried one, ever. And then we got up here, and I accidentally caught one, and we decided we'd go ahead and eat it. And then we were like, oh, that's why he was paying that money.
That's why he was paying so much.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we came from to where we got to here, because people were saying 2.5 acres is not a lot. And that's what happened, is we kind of decided that we really wanted to continue to do this.
Well, one of the things that we ended up doing, and we got the idea from Joel Salatin's You Can Farm book, was once we got the dairy cow, and then we also ended up on that little 2.5 acres, we had the dairy cow and a couple of calves.
Yeah.
And our one neighbor it was like a half an acre jack, his front yard.
Oh, yeah.
It was like half acres, 3/4 of an acre. He had that he didn't want to cut. And so we brought the cows over.
We put electric fencing on
electric fencing on them and started bouncing them.
Yep.
Around his front yard. And then we brought our little eggmobile in, and started running them. And we tripled his grass amount in just the first year.
Yeah, his grass went from being nasty, like hay quality, burnt up grass, to like fertilized, green, beautiful, even grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's how we did a lot of that. A lot of our neighbors, we were, we were kind of the natural lawn mowing service.
And like our pigs used to clean up the gardens of people.
Yeah.
You know,
if they had a garden and they wanted it, they would say, bring your pigs over, let them clean up my garden. And so we'd march them over there, put fencing around their garden, and they would till up their garden and stay in there for a couple of weeks, and then we'd go to the next one, and then we'd go to the next one. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we were able to have so much.
Yeah, because we had other people letting us use their land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be able to do it like that. And, it was working out for us, and we may share some raw milk with some of them, or we also give them some eggs. But the fact of the matter is, humans are naturally lazy. So, wait a minute. This guy wants to bring his cows over.
I don't have to mow my garden.
I ain't got to mow the grass. Come on.
Yeah, and that's that's really what it boiled down to. I don't have to till my garden.
Yep.
Oh, bring him over.
Yeah.
And it worked for us.
Or I don't have to go pick up all of these crab apples that fell onto the ground.
Yeah, so that was the other thing. Our neighbor right behind us had apple trees. He had a couple of apple trees. And every once in a while, our pigs or our cow would get out, and he wouldn't call us over there right away. And then he would call us and like, hey, your pigs are out. And we're like, well, how long have they've been gone for a while. Like, what? They're not eating anymore. Like, what are they? He's like, oh, no, they've been cleaning up the leftover, the rotten apples and stuff out of my garden and out of the pasture. I was like, are you serious?
Yep,
He's
to
like,
the point where he made a pallet fence so that when they came out, when they would get out,
he knew where they would get out at.
He would just go ahead and open it up. When he had too many apples down there, he wouldn't even ask us. He would just come in there, reopen the hole in the fence, because he had it fenced in there, and let him go in up underneath his apple tree. And then he started planting a garden right there. And doing that. Knowing what you know now, are there books you recommend for people starting out on a homestead? Yes. Alan, I'm the best. I'm going to try to tell you a lot of them from memory right now. Okay, but I'm not trying to push you to my Amazon store, but if you go to our Amazon store, we have a recommended reading list.
There is a recommended reading list we put on there because we do have people ask us this all the time.
The very first book that I would tell you to get is John Seymour's Self-Sufficient Life and How to Live It. It's a big red book. It's got a big honking barn on it. That book that's the book that I refer to as the homesteading Bible, at least for us. Okay, that book has everything.
It really does have everything. Yeah.
And hold on, I'll get it brought out here. Hey, that's a monster.
Yeah, it's on there along with all the other ones that we have a pretty deep.
Hey, bring me John Seymour's homesteading book. It's the big red one that's right there underneath the TV. The homesteading Bible.
So, yeah, so that one kind of gave us, and actually, when we started with that book, oh, look at that, look at her. So that book is actually, like Jason was saying before, that was what kind of showed us what we really needed to do with pigs. And,
my favorite line out of that book,
it's in our Instagram post,
is about pigs. Is he said the Irish call the pig the gentleman who pays the rent.
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
But this is the number one book I recommend.
Absolutely the best. And we've had this for years, and it's in really good shape because Jason doesn't just let anybody just go through it. We bring it out for special.
And you can see we highlight stuff in it. They got stuff about butchering.
And this is how we first started learning how to butcher chickens.
butchering pigs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now this is the one thing that I really like in this book.
Oh yeah, it goes by season.
It goes by seasons for your garden.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing that I really like about the book.
Well, and this is, I was going to say, is this is where we were like, we don't have enough land. We got to get.
Okay, and he's got all stuff from the garden in here. You can go plant by plant. This is why I say that this,
It's right at the beginning. What are you talking about?
You don't worry about what I'm talking about.
Apparently I don't.
No, you don't. You don't need to know what I'm talking about.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You don't need to know.
Okay. Watch it be in the front of the book.
It's not in the front of the book.
Okay.
It's right around in here.
In the front of the book.
It's not in the front of the book. We got stuff, pest, fungi, disease, protection, growing under cover.
Where is it?
I don't know. Ah, right there
Right
it is.
there, in the front of the book.
And then the
y'all.
front of the book.
Front of the book.
Okay. Look, he shows you how to lay out a 5-acre homestead.
That's
Okay.
when we learned we needed at least 5 acres.
And he also shows you how to lay out a, this is the
1 acre.
A 1-acre homestead.
Mm-hmm. That's a 1 acre.
Okay, to be completely self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably the number one book you need.
Yep.
Now, of course, the other books are You Can Farm by Joel Salatin, Pastured Poultry by Joel Salatin, Salad Bar Beef by Joel Salatin.
Mm-hmm.
If you really want to understand why we do what we do, what really kind of got us started is read Michael Pollan's Omnivore's Dilemma.
Omnivore's Dilemma.
That will, if you need help getting somebody motivated.
Right. If you're on the fence.
Yeah. Now, another diamond in the rough that we didn't know about until we won it on Breakaway Homesteads show
Is a really good one.
is the Back to Basics book. That book has a lot of great things
It's an
in
old
it.
Reader's Digest book.
This book is also very good. It has a lot of things in it that one doesn't have. It has a lot of stuff about renewable energy sources. It has a pattern for how to make a coonskin cap. This is the pattern that Robin followed for Danny at Deep South. His coonskin cap that she made.
The other thing that I liked about this one is that is not as much, I mean, it's in here, but there's a lot about preserving food in this book that talks about how to store tomato or potatoes and things like that I don't remember this one.
It's in there.
Well, I was thinking about with canning. Is there much? I don't think there's much
canning in that
here.
one, no.
Yeah, there's a little bit. It's like two pages.
I inherited the Foxfire books from my nanny. Those are fun books to read, and they do have some tidbits of information, but a lot of it is kind of outdated.
Well, and they're more anecdotal books. Like, they're like, you have to read, it's almost like a story. You have to read it in order to learn stuff. But with these, you can literally go through and, go to the index or go to the table of contents to look for something specific.
Okay, Mama grows, Mama grows, Mama
She's like,
grows.
I'm scrolling through the chat and I'm trying to get an idea of what y'all are talking about. I'm so confused.
Mama grows. We were tagged way back about a month ago in a collaboration from Keto Country Homestead about origins. They wanted to know where you got your homestead name from and basically how you got started in homesteading. And we basically just gave everybody from the birth to here. And right now, Alan asked us for beginning homesteaders what books would we recommend, and we were going through our list of must-read books.
So those are the big ones.
Yes.
The other ones are going to be like specific to certain things.
Yeah, like
so like, if you want something on cuts of meat, we have a book for that. The meat hook book is really good.
Gardening books. We got a fistful
right.
of gardening books.
The beekeeping books, there's like 2 or 3 that we really like.
The Hive and the Honeybee is a very good.
That's
kind of.
But that's anecdotal as well.
Yeah.
My favorite one is still the one that we just got. I don't have it back in here yet because we had them all from last week. But the one that I really liked was the Backyard Beekeeper.
Oh,
it's right there. The other beekeeping book is still in the house. But the Backyard Beekeeper it's good because it's got a lot of pictures to kind of show you exactly. It's a lot easier to identify, certain things.
Yeah.
So, and I think you have this one on the thing as well.
Yeah.
But it's chock full of pictures. Like there's pictures. That's why Jason likes it, because there's lots of pictures. That was for you, Tim.
So, Alan, go ahead and hit that link to our Amazon store. It's in the description, and recommended reading. We've got all kinds of different books in there for that. But then the rest of them are like what Robin was saying. They're basically topic specific books.
Yeah.
Like we got books on container gardening, square foot gardening, raised bed gardening, house plants. What else we got over there? Self-watering containers.
Cheese making, soap making, cattle, pork.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff that's specific to something that we're trying to raise.
Now, there is another homesteading book. We don't use it that much, but I still keep it as a reference guide. There's really 2 of them. Matter of fact, just grab all 3 of those. These are okay books, but if you've got a bit of a budget that you got to stick to, or you're trying to...
Yeah, remember, we've been doing this we've accumulated these over years.
Inch somebody into it. Don't waste your money on the ones that I'm getting ready to show you. Get John Seymour's first. That one, you cannot go wrong with that one. But you got Story's Basic Country Skills book. It's okay. I don't feel that it doesn't go into detail enough. Is my thing. But it's got some...
In my opinion, it tries to cover too much. It's basically what it is. This should probably be 2 or 3 books.
Yeah.
And it's trying to basically... If you were somebody who already knows this stuff and you just need a refresher, this would be a good book for you. If you just want to know a little bit about a whole lot of stuff, this is for you.
And that's the same way with this one. The homesteading book. Yeah. Okay? Again... I don't think it breezes over a lot of stuff. But then it talks about different things that don't really concern homesteading. I don't see many homesteaders trying to make a rooftop garden.
There's a lot of recipes in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of recipes. But again, it's making bridges, tree houses, So there's some things in it that it's kind of cool to go look up and kind of do.
I think the reason we bought this one was for, if I remember correctly, I feel like the canning section was actually really good in this one.
Yeah.
So I think we bought this knowing that some of it was not that great, but like the canning part was really good, and it also, there was a lot of stuff we couldn't find early on about renewable energy, and this had some renewable energy.
Now, there was one specific reason why we bought this book. Okay? And it's this right here.
Barnyard for the Backyard is the name of that book, which was exactly what we were doing at the time, basically.
Right. And it was trying to teach you how to sex a rabbit. Anybody Mama Grows can tell you that's probably one of the hardest things in the world to do is to sex a rabbit.
Herbal medicine recipes. I don't really know. We don't really have one.
Yes, we do.
Do we?
Yes, but but it's not sold anymore.
No, it's the old one that you're.
It was Nanny's.
Yeah. It is. I don't even see it.
I think I got it locked up.
Yeah. The Rodale's Encyclopedia of Herbs is a good one.
Yes, that's a good one. Grab that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, and duh, Amy's book.
Yeah.
Don't. Amy's book is really good. If you don't have Amy's book,
Amy's book. It's about as big as she is.
no, but it's very good.
Yeah, Amy did a really good job with her herbal book here.
Mm-hmm.
You got cleaning with it, salad dressings, recipes, a whole bunch of great stuff with it. Robin is in this book a bunch.
Mm-hmm. Very good book.
Right. Now, this is a very good book about herbs.
Mm-hmm.
This Encyclopedia of Herbs has got I think it's got every stinking herb in it. And it gives you a history of the herb. It gives you if it's got medicinal purposes, if you can use it culinary, everything.
Yeah, it tells you what it looks like. I mean, how to identify it, what kind of planting it needs. I mean, it's very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about, just everything all the way around. Like, here's coriander. It talks about the history, the uses, what it's going to look like, where you can find it in this country. I mean, everything. Growing conditions. So it's very, I really like this one. When we start doing our full herb garden, we'll definitely be nose deep in that one. So that's what I would say on that one.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? I love the questions. Keep the questions coming. Thanks for the info. I just inherited 92 acres in Louisiana.
55, trying to figure out the best fit for me given my age.
92 acres.
Is it wooded? Is it fenced?
That's a good question.
There's a lot of things. People can say, I have 500 acres, but if it's 498 acres of pine trees, all timber.
All timber.
Yeah, so
there's your retirement.
I was just going to say, you get that all cut up.
That's your retirement right there, boss.
Yep. Get them to come in and cut it down, and then find your forestry commission.
And let them plant it again.
And plant them again. And that can be for your grandkids.
Yeah. That right there, you just, if you, depending on the timber and what timber's going for in your area, you probably just inherited paying for somebody's college. Mm-hmm. Like at UGA.
Yeah. It definitely, that's something to think about when you've got, but the thing is with timber, like we have somebody here in town, well, not really town, but they've got pine trees planted. And they've cleaned them up and kept them nice and clean and trimmed them now to where they're literally raising them for timber, but they run goats
underneath them.
Timber payout here is break even. Holy cow.
That stinks.
Not around here it ain't. But literally they run goats up underneath, and they have a llama or a whatever alpaca, and that's what they do. So they just run them out and put them back in. And
guys, just said he's looking for property in Missouri. Look, I know I bust Robin's chops about how hot it gets here, but you can't beat the land prices where we are. 21 acres with the house, the shop, the barn in the back, the milk barn, the big hay barn, 250 feet of 3 lines of existing muscadine vines, pecan trees. It had
Black
apple
walnut
trees, black
trees.
walnut trees, a creek, and a pond. And I paid $155,000 for it. And mine is considered one of the higher properties in our area.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
All in this area, and not even just Elberton. I'm starting to learn that even close by us, in surrounding counties, that it's pretty much the same. You just have to go looking around. You just have to drive around.
you just gotta, and if you want to come down here, visit, hang out with us, and then drive around and look to see if you can find something, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yeah.
And because I would love to get a community going.
Yeah,
around
Mama
here.
T's like, that would be a fortune here. And that's, again, we knew that. When most of you know this story, is that this property, we visited it before it was ours.
Mm-hmm.
We had somebody come ask us to consult this property to tell them what to do with it. And we told them, and they didn't do it. And about a year and a half later, they called us and said,
They
hey,
offered it to us.
do you want it? We're like, don't joke. That's not funny.
And we had a hard time getting it appraised.
Mm-hmm.
And because they wanted to appraise it a lot cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would love to build a community around here. And now what I mean by a community is, there is
people that live around us.
there is property for sale up and down within a 3 to 5 mile radius of us all the time.
Yeah.
There's a bigger farm than ours right down the road. We tried to show it to the haulers, but it got dark too fast. And they were running sheep on it.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden they decided to pack up and move. I don't know why. Maybe it was because they didn't know about us and we didn't know about them, and they might have moved to a spot where they can have a community.
I don't know how they didn't know about us. Every time the goats and sheep got out on the road, we were calling the law on them. Not upset, but like helping them out.
And so I would love to have neighbors to be able to invite to come over and rotate whose house we're having a barbecue at that weekend, and be able to do barn raisings.
And not everybody get upset when we all have to leave at 7 to go milk our cows real quick and come back.
And pulling fences together, helping pull calves if we have to, and just building a community of like-minded homesteaders.
Right.
So.
Okay. It's time to call it a night.
Yeah, we've been on for over 2 hours.
Yep. Time to go to bed. Alright. What town are you? I'm curious to look around on Zillow and see what they got price-wise.
We live in Elberton, Georgia. So be looking in Elberton or Hartwell. And that's or Dewey Rose, Bowman. Because we're officially, the power company calls us Dewey Rose, but the internet company calls us Elberton. So
13 Forks minutes.
Yeah.
How hot does it feel with the heat? It's hot. But you get used to it. I mean, that's the thing, is you adapt. It's definitely different than where you are, because the heat's a little bit different where you live compared to here.
But there's things that you do. You do homeschool in the summertime more than you do in the spring,
at least for us,
the fall, and the winter.
Yeah.
Because you can get out in the morning and do chores and do everything that you need to work on till about lunchtime. Then at lunchtime, you do homeschool from lunchtime to about 5 o'clock. Then you go out and you do evening chores and do a little bit more because it's starting to cool off.
And your light goes till 9 o'clock.
Right. And
so you can get a good couple hours worth of work done.
Now, you may be eating dinner at 8, 9 o'clock. But you just got to roll that way. Or you eat dinner before you go out there in the evening time.
See, but we learned not to do that because then you get sick.
Yeah.
So we always ate light at night during the summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just learned to adapt to it. And that was one of the things that we had to learn very early on when we got up here, because we were working more up here than we were down in Grovetown. Yeah. And because we had a lot more to take care of. And so we learned real quick that trying to do homeschool, especially in the first part of the spring, it's hard. It's hard to keep a schedule because you got so much going on that what we do is we take a little bit of a break to get all that done, because that's the beauty of homeschool. You just have to do 180 days of school a year in a full calendar year. Mm-hmm. So you can space it up, And so that's what we do is we do a lot of ours in the summertime during the bulk of the day. So that's how we do it.
And it's like here in about the next week and a half, right when we come back from Arkansas, the girls won't be doing homeschool for a couple weeks. Because we're going to be running wide open, getting everything planted.
Yeah, for the garden.
And, baby chickens coming in, chicken tractors getting to be moving around. About that time, the Muscovy ducklings will be hatching. We're going to have to separate them, get them caught up. All that kind of things be going on. And but then when the summertime hits, about end of May, beginning of June,
when everybody else is getting done with school,
we'll be cranking school back up. And we'll be in this building or in the house with that little air conditioning unit going and doing school. Yeah. And so you just work around it, and you back up the bed of the truck and you throw a tarp down in it and you fill it up with well water and let it sit out in the sun for a while and you get cooled off. So. But
all
right, guys. That's us with the Origins. I think everybody else has already done theirs. And I don't think we need to tag anybody. I do apologize to Keto Country Homestead for it taking us so long to get this out for them. Just like the Haskins family vlog, we still owe you guys with the Green Dream Project your dance collaboration. If it stays nice, we're going to try and get that filmed this weekend. We've just been getting hit with heavy rains, and it's really been hindering us to do collaborations.
Kind of filming.
To do a lot of filming because, we got to do this stuff for our sponsors. Yep. So, thank you guys. Remember, be kind to one another. And look, I know I say this, but you guys know I'm back in school. I'm learning why that is important. And we may talk about that maybe tomorrow night. I don't know. So you guys be kind to one another. Recycle, reuse, repurpose. Keep stuff out of the landfill. And we will see you guys tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for hanging out with us for 2 hours. Good night, and God bless.
Good night, y'all.